G'day, it's Malaki here again. Really enjoying these catch-ups during the COVID-19 self-isolation period and chatting with Kim Woolard today. How are you going, Kim?
Great, thanks Malaki, how are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, it's been an interesting season, but I'm just blessed, I guess, that I can chat with people in my network, obviously family and friends, but you know, within my professional network as well. So yeah, thanks for taking the time out to chat today.
Absolute pleasure.
So you've got a background in business. You've kind of been in business over the past 10 years, and you're currently the director of VE Assist. So a local Brisbane-based company that provides virtual assistant services. And so what I know about you, because we've known each other for about 5 years, is that you're very successful on LinkedIn, and you've used a bit of elbow grease, a bit of hard work to polish up the networking skills, but you really believe in building professional relationships and growing your network. So yeah, LinkedIn right now, I think is a hot topic as well, like given the self-isolation. Have you seen a surge of people using it, or what's your interactions been on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I really think that a lot of people are open to connecting much more at the moment. I think with all the isolation, people are probably craving some more human contact, and whether that's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Zoom, like they're on. I think, yeah, everyone's keen to have a bit of a chat, and LinkedIn obviously being a more professional platform, the conversations have been geared more around how are you managing, how are you pivoting at the moment, and yeah, is there any way that we can help each other out?
Yeah,
I think it's helping your mate is a very typical Australian kind of attitude to have in a crisis like this.
Yeah,
and I think that's been just shining through on LinkedIn as well as just in general.
that's really good. Yeah, it's such a versatile tool. Like I've heard like previous conversations around maybe LinkedIn's just sort of like an online resume. You know, sometimes like people don't see the value, but I guess it's far more than that, right? You can literally use it to build like professional relationships in a virtual environment. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because that's my approach, is to build genuine relationships. Those that I've reached out to who typically are used to using it as a resume or just to drum business tend to be a bit surprised, and sort of takes them a little bit to warm up to the idea of we can just actually have a conversation and get to know each other and see if there's any sort of you know, if we resonate with what we're doing, and we don't have to maybe have any transactional interactions, but just by getting to know each other and understanding not what each other does, but why and how. I've heard it said, you know, you'll only ever really meet 5% of the person's network. The other 95%, they can introduce to you if they know what it is that you're looking for and such. So yeah.
Oh, that's really valuable. I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Like there was two things that kind of struck me when you were talking about sending a message to people, right? I was trying to remember when I first used LinkedIn quite a few years ago now, was the fear of trying to send a message to someone who I don't know, right? And so I think you answered it quite amply that, you know, literally a lot of people that you talk to, they're either they won't respond, or it's a favorable response. Like I think rarely I've ever had anyone come back because I don't know them say, I don't know you, what are you doing, right? Like,
that's right.
So from that point of view, like I guess the advice would probably be just start, like let's just send as many messages as you can, I guess. And you haven't really had a negative experience around that. It's probably a fair assumption.
Yeah, and LinkedIn allows you to be quite targeted so that you can really narrow down the sorts of people that you're wanting to connect with, whether it's for professional or passion pursuit, or even if it's just people who of a similar mindset and approach, then you can narrow it down using all sorts of keywords.
Yep.
And then you can go further to, you know, location, language, industry,
Yep.
profession, and be very specific, and then work through the profiles and pick out the ones that jump out to you,
Yep.
and have the sort of language that you're looking for.
I like that. Yeah. And be very intentional with what you're trying to achieve. And I like what you said just previously as well around, you know, the percentage of the people that you are going to meet in your network. But part of the goal of messaging people is obviously to assist other people, but it's about building a network, I guess you could say. So it's not one way. It's not transactional. It's like, hey, can you help me? It's more of a dialogue and trying to build a relationship, and maybe in a week or a month or a year or years later, you may become front of mind, and by that point it might be relevant to refer. So I like those tips you were giving around LinkedIn. Very handy.
Not a problem.
So just changing gears a little bit, you know, given the COVID economic shutdown, it sounds like it's kind of being lifted a little bit, but how have you been adjusting, I guess, to the new norm, you and your business?
Yeah, so I was fairly fortunate. It's not been as much of a change for me as it's been for many others. I already worked from home, and so that was already set up for me. And I was familiar with Zoom meetings and other online interactions. So it definitely wasn't as big an adjustment as it has been for some other people. I guess for me, it's you know, the time management and making time for you know, getting on the phone with my sister or whatever, so that I still do have those touch points socially. That's been important. But yeah, work-wise, it's actually not been as much of an adjustment as I know it's been for quite a lot of other people.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. It has a lot of the people that I've spoken to as well, working from home situation, they kind of already were doing it already. And so maybe the impact hasn't necessarily been with them personally, but people within their industry, like clients or vendors or partnerships that they have. So just navigating that. The one thing I did hear was there's been a lot more Zoom meetings. So I think the trick is how do you fit all the Zoom meetings into one day and not get exhausted?
Yeah, you need a bottle of water by you so that you can have a drink between meetings.
Yeah, no,
definitely.
It's a very, very interesting season. But I wanted to ask, I guess, a thought-provoking question, or I'm a very sort of personal person, I guess. And so, you know, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, you know, part of, you know, you growing up or your upbringing, like where did you grow up? How did any of that shape, obviously who you are today, but just like leading through this season, this COVID season, like you're saying, you know, your business or your professional side, maybe not impacted too much, but just dealing obviously with, you know, friends, family, other associates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How's that like kind of informed your view, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, particularly my younger years, my family and I did move a fair bit. So we started off in Brisbane. And my dad was a doctor, started off in working in hospitals, and he'd always had a passion and desire to serve overseas and be a missionary.
So good.
So his training, his medical training was all geared towards what is going to be most benefit in that scenario. So we moved to Ipswich for a short time, and then down to Melbourne. My parents went to missionary training school. So that was a big adjustment. We've got photos of me with woolen beanie and gloves and the thickest jacket that you could see, and Wellington boots, and so definitely a change in climate. And I guess it wasn't difficult for me. There was other kids for other missionary families that were in training, so got to play with them all day while mum and dad did what they were doing.
Yep.
And then we moved to Tanzania, and
wow.
we're there for 3.5 years. And so that's where it was a village hospital that Dad worked in for that time. And
amazing.
That's, yeah, it was, I'd say that was a really shaping experience for me. Even though I was quite young, it's allowed me to realise that the world exists beyond the comfort that I currently live in, and the way that society works here in Australia.
Yep.
Being sensitive to different cultures, different ways of life, different priorities. One of the things that we often laugh about is Tanzania time. It's
yes.
It's quite different. It's, you don't have a meeting at 2:00. You have a meeting at 2:00, and people will arrive anywhere from 8:30 a.m. till 2:00 the next day. So it's a lot more casual in that sense. So you've got to be you've just got to roll with the punches, and I guess that whole kind of lifestyle really taught my family and I the value of relationships, and it doesn't really matter whether they arrive at the time that you thought they were going to. Make them the time that you have with them.
Wow.
And so I did grade 1 in Tanzania, and then we moved back to Australia, lived in Ipswich for a little while, and then back to Brisbane, and I've lived in Brisbane ever since. I've done a little bit of travelling of my own since then. Late high school and tertiary, I went on a mission trip to Zambia and spent a month over there.
Wow.
And it was amazing. On the way back, we stopped in at Victoria Falls, and that was an incredible experience being there.
Wow.
And then a few years after that, I went to the Solomon Islands and travelled around the islands with a lady who'd lived there for, I think it was 20 years or so. So she was very much considered a local.
Yes.
And was able to show us that aspect, what it's actually really like to live there. And so that was, it was very eye-opening. And as much as the people are just, they're beautiful, and the way of life is so different, it gave me an enormous appreciation for Australia as well, and how fortunate we are, really.
Yeah.
We can sometimes get into the grumbling of different situations, but really on the whole, we're very, very lucky.
100%. Yeah. That's, wow. Thanks so much for sharing. The Tanzania time, actually, that I think I can relate, because there is my background, Pacific Island, there's a thing like a Samoan time or Fijian time, which is similar. Yeah. Like you say a time and it's literally like 3 or 4 hours later. I haven't heard of the next day though, so that's like pretty extreme. That's next level. But I had to laugh to myself there. That's definitely a thing.
Yes.
No, but that's
coming from a Western society. Oh, sorry, Malaki. I was just going to say, coming from a Western society where we are ruled by our watches, and at the time, it's a bit of an adjustment.
it's hard to get your head around, right? Like something that you're so used to, and everyone's sort of governed by. Then all of a sudden, yeah, you just throw that out the window, and oh, what is that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But the one thing I was sort of just thinking about, as you're explaining like all of that is, yeah, it would appear that you're probably pretty flexible, given the places that you've been to, and obviously during like growing up in childhood, stuff like that, which forms us all as adults. Just that was sort of the one word that just came was flexibility, right? And so, I mean, it's something you can learn anywhere, but I think there's something special about, living in a different country, especially that young, especially totally different to Australia. Would that be an accurate assumption?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've actually come to realize over the years is that it's given me a different appreciation, or I guess I value different things than maybe some other people. So because we moved quite a lot, as a family, we always had the mentality of, well, wherever we're staying, that's home. So even if we're on a 2-week holiday, or on a driving holiday and we're just staying in a motel overnight, that's home for that time. And it doesn't really matter where it is, because as long as you're with your loved ones,
yes,
then it's all fine. And that's kind of your grounding, rather than the physical possessions or the physical house. But I think you're right, being able to adapt to new situations, being able to recognize the differences in people, and work around that, not thinking that everyone has to conform to the way that I think things should be done, or that society seems to dictate. So being able to adapt to new situations fairly quickly and easily, and take them in my stride.
Love that.
But also finding a way to make the most out of any situation, whether you're on a ship in the Solomon Islands with no air conditioning and extreme heat. There's always things that you can find that you can appreciate and make the best out of whatever happens, which may even be why the COVID situation hasn't really had much of a negative impact on me, because it's that attitude of so this is what we're faced with, and you can choose which way you're going to deal with it, and it's making that choice to be flexible and to say, well, I can't actually do that, but while I'm here, what can I do? And I think a lot of people are probably finding that at the moment, that you can either sit there and grumble, or you can find ways to enjoy it and be productive and make the most of it right now.
100%. No, I love that. I actually heard something recently. I think it was from Gary Vaynerchuk, maybe. He was talking about like try and enjoy the situation that we're in. Like, in 18 months or 24 months, when supposedly we go back to whatever it is that will be normal then, we probably reflect back and go, man, that was a fun 2 months or 3 months, or how did I use that to enjoy some of the things that you can't normally do, like binge watching Netflix, or having a little bit extra food when I probably shouldn't. Like what he was saying is, let's not beat ourselves up too much, which I thought was a good spin on it. I think sometimes we can be a bit too hard on ourselves, but like you're saying, the situation, it is what it is with us, and how do we make the best of it?
Yeah, exactly. I was also thinking the other day on Facebook, when you hear different people's comments and how they're managing the situation. It prompted me to think of, you know, those illusion pictures. There's that really popular one where you look at it and some people see an old lady and other people look at it and see their young lady.
Yeah.
Just because of how it's drawn, you can see either, and it supposedly reflects how you view the world or what you are drawn to. So yeah, I think that's a really good strategy, that some people will naturally look at whatever situation and see what they can make from it.
Yeah.
Turn lemons into lemonade. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. Very, very wise words. You also, I think you strike me as a person who doesn't like the cold. I think you've mentioned twice now, oh, the cold's a bit like...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I tend to feel the cold quite quickly. I typically, I've got a pair of gloves in the car that I go for a walk each morning, and they're in the car because I won't cope if I don't have them on. And for quite a while, I also had a pair of fingerless gloves next to my computer at home where I'd work, so that as I'm working, I can have those gloves on.
Smart,
but, yeah.
Very smart. And very prepared for any situation, sounds like.
Yeah.
Hey, I've really enjoyed our time today. Thanks so much, just for sharing some insights into LinkedIn, obviously, and you know how you're traveling through the season. And I guess just as some departing comments or final remarks, is there anyone that's watching this from either my network or your network who could assist you in this time, either a business or professional focus or any other focus?
Yeah. Well, I suppose with my business Be Assist, we provide admin and business operations and customer service support for small business owners where the business is in growth mode, and to allow them to scale effectively without it costing them a huge investment. They're the sorts of people that we work best with. So other businesses that might also work with those sorts of small businesses would also be valuable to connect with, and you know, partner with, I guess in terms of like bookkeeping or social media marketing, copywriting, graphic design, legal assistance, all that kind of thing. So those sorts of people would be really, really beneficial.
Excellent.
I guess anyone who's looking for the kind of support that we provide, that would also be a worthwhile connection, whether or not we're the best fit. I'm building a network of other virtual assistants who provide complementary services. So if something that anyone in our networks is wanting, but my team and I aren't able to provide or aren't the best fit, then I'm more than likely able to point them in the right direction of someone who is a good fit. Excellent. And who I trust.
Excellent. That's really good. Yeah. I've also included the website just in the Facebook page, post, and LinkedIn and YouTube. So definitely feel free to reach directly out to Kim or send me a message as well. I can facilitate an introduction. But yeah, thanks for catching up, Kim. Really appreciate that.
Thanks, Malaki.
All the best with
good to catch up.
The COVID season, and chat again soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Malaki.
Take care. Thank you. See ya.